Even as Joe Biden moves toward taking over the White House in January, tomorrow, President Trump and 18 Republican-led states will ask the Supreme Court to strike down Obamacare in its entirety, potentially jeopardizing the signature policy passed while Biden was vice president. The case comes in the middle of a raging pandemic and without any clear alternative to the health care law. And the court's decision in the coming weeks will impact virtually every American in some way. So tonight, ABC's Devin Dwyer takes a look at the stakes for families and how they're facing uncertainty over the law's future.
For the third time in a decade, the Affordable Care Act is on the line at the Supreme Court.
It's done me a lot of good, and honestly, I wouldn't have known where to turn or where to sign up for insurance.
VERONICA VALDEZ, a 38-year-old mother of 5, is watching the case closely. After losing her job and employer-based health insurance in the recession, she found a safety net in Obamacare.
That's the most important thing, is making sure we're all healthy. And you never know, having kids also, you can't take the risk of not having insurance.
Because she's unemployed, VALDEZ qualified for premium subsidies under the law, paying just $146 a month for coverage for her family. But now those subsidies, which help nearly 10 million Americans afford health care, could abruptly go away as President Trump and 18 Republican-led states asked the justices to invalidate the entire law.
Normally, the Supreme Court, when they rule something unconstitutional, it takes effect immediately. But it's really hard to find a precedent of a Supreme Court decision that would have such a sweeping effect on the country.
An estimated 21 million Americans would lose health insurance nationwide if the law is struck down. And protections for 54 million people with pre-existing conditions could also be eliminated.
It's sort of like a giant mouse, and it just goes up against my chest.
It's a scary prospect for Gene Faltis of New Hampshire, who says his medical chart reads like a horror story of conditions that an insurer could potentially deny.
Cancer, cardiac conditions, pulmonary dysfunction, diabetes, absolutely. I would have been excluded. There was no way prior to the ACA that I could have gotten, any sort of insurance if I was suddenly in the position of needing it through lack of employment.
President Trump and congressional Republicans have insisted there's no need to panic.
Will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care.
There's certainly multiple ways to protect people with pre-existing conditions. What you can't do is just kind of wave a magic wand and hope it happens.
So we're getting Andrew's day started here with his morning feed.
The uncertainty has Christine Callahan of Ohio deeply anxious. Her 13-year-old son, Andrew, who has an undiagnosed genetic condition, requires $7,000 a month in medical care.
On the health care insurance, we're a loss leader. But is it fair to say, we don't deserve it because we have a need?
Callahan worries ending Obamacare would mean a return to the time when insurance companies could cap payouts if you get sick.
I feel like we're going to come to a point, if we're back to those days, of what is the quality of this care that we can afford without spending everything we have. It's a balance of what do we do for our daughter as far as saving for college. I think it's that coming to the decision of our finances versus his care.
I always have to remind myself to breathe.
Also on edge, more than 14.8 million low-income Americans who gained health coverage under Obamacare's expansion of Medicaid.
Every day is a struggle to survive, right? Because we don't get enough money to come in, right? And also the benefits, right? As well, like healthcare benefits.
23-year-old Lisa Nishimura says without Medicaid, she couldn't afford the treatment she needs for severe chronic depression and PTSD. The ACA requires insurers to treat those conditions equally with others.
Mental health is just as important as physical health, and it can be the deciding factor between life and death. Without ACA, without Medicaid, I don't know how I would have paid those hospital costs.
A majority of American voters in the 2020 election said they want the Supreme Court to uphold Obamacare. Just 43% said they'd like it overturned. Republicans tried and failed dozens of times since 2010 to repeal and replace the health law, but now polls show its benefits are as popular as ever. with some Republican opponents even conceding the law should be kept but fixed.
What needs to be done to fix it right now?
The thing the ACA didn't do was deal with the underlying cost of healthcare, which drives insurance premiums up. And that has really hit middle-class people hard. So I think some way of helping middle-class people who have trouble affording healthcare would be an important improvement to the ACA.
The new Congress and new president could soon move to take on that challenge. But first, supporters of Obamacare say the law needs to survive the latest test, the Supreme Court.
I think I'm enough of a realist. What I'm optimistic about is that we will find a way around it. I'm optimistic that there will be such an outcry from the country demanding it. People have gotten used to the ACA.
At the center of the Supreme Court case is the individual mandate, which requires all Americans to have health insurance. It was upheld by the court back in 2012 as a tax. But after the penalty was eliminated by Republicans after Trump took office, two lower federal courts have said the mandate is now simply an unconstitutional government order. One of the key questions for the justices: can the mandate be severed from the rest of the law, keeping the balance of Obamacare? It'll be a major test for new Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who's been critical of Obamacare, but much less clear in her views of severability.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.